All right, welcome everybody. In the interest of time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And first off is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Allison Bailey to lead us in that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we've got Larry on the phone, so if you hear me kind of yelling, it's so that he can hear everything that's going on too. All right, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move that we adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Our student reports. Do we have students from all 4 schools today? Mia Brown from Compass, if you'd like to come up to the podium.
How are you guys today?
Good, how are you?
So, I'd like to start off with the emotional assembly we had. It went fantastic. People enjoyed it, and we had a lot of activities, and we celebrated every athlete that comes to our school, whether they were on Skyline or IF side. We heard a lot of positive feedback about that, so I'd like to say it went fantastic. Next up, the seniors went to ISU today in Pocatello, and then the juniors went to Cte. And from what I've heard, the students really enjoyed being able to see the colleges and being able to have like the tours and whatnot, and being able to go for free above all. So I'd like to say it went really well. We just introduced freshman elections for student government. So we just really introduced them on Monday and Tuesday. So next time I see you guys, I'll update you on that. And then we are still in the process of planning our haunted house, which we have decided will be on the 28th. And then we also want to host a costume contest that we've done every year. And we did just start planning that last week, but I'm sure it will go fantastic as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Grace Madsen from IF. Welcome.
Okay, so over this last month, the IF student government has been up to planning for some of our fall events. We planned a bear burn for students to get together and celebrate a tradition. We were in charge of getting the supplies needed, supervising, setting up, and cleaning up after the event. We created a spirit week for both emotional and homecoming. For the emotional, we planned and directed an assembly for the school to get pumped for the game. This assembly consisted of many fun activities involving the student body and the cheer team. During the week of homecoming, we also had an assembly to announce the homecoming royalty and to get the student body involved. Then we had our parade afterwards. We look forward for some of the upcoming events like Mr. IFHS and Harvest. We're excited to be planning these highly anticipated events and excited to see how they turn out for the students.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Emerson, Caden Jones. Welcome.
Aaron, we've got you sitting here today.
Yeah.
Oh, you got him over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, Caden.
Katie Jones. We haven't really done much, but we do have a couple of things.
Okay.
The new and old students are getting along very well. And the new teachers and the counselor have blended in with the Emerson family. Wonderful. We had a fun party. Everyone, sorry. On the first Friday when everyone came back from school, everyone had a great time. All the students and teachers enjoyed some games. And we were floats together. That's basically all we did.
Wonderful. Great, thank you so much for coming. And Skyline, remind me your name.
It's hard.
Ari. Yes.
My name's Ari. Okay, so we've been busy with homecoming and our carnival. So homecoming was really great. And we had really great. We did have a complaint from the neighborhood person about them not knowing about the parade, but it was just fun. So kids loved it, and they so did everyone else. We had our senior float, junior and freshman floats, and then we had clubs involved. We had our carnival, that was super great. We had a lot of people there, and it was clubs that volunteered to booths, and that's what made our carnival. The carnival, we had the military there, they brought like a tank thing and a bouncy house. Then we had Powder Puff, and that was super great. Homecoming dance was good, and everyone loved that. And then we had the Emotion Bowl, and that was super good. Our student section was great. I think yesterday we painted our rock blue again after I painted it orange. We are doing get to know you presentations in student government class right now, and we do that every year. Fall sports are going really good. And we have Student Go State coming up. So we're doing 2 breakout rooms, and in the conference thing, too. And we're going to be talking about game day t-shirts and get to know presentations too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ari. Appreciate your time. We've got some good celebrations tonight.
We do. So, pull that up real quick. I think Margaret's going to come up and help us with this tonight.
Thank you for giving me a little bit of time tonight to talk about a celebration that's been a long time coming. Work on this project started in 2019 before COVID. And the district is part of a unique partnership with the Business for Education and the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. And we have created what is called the Within Reach program. And the goal is to connect with parents and local employers to focus on and emphasize the importance of students going on after high school and connecting with some kind of a pathway to a job or a career after high school. So the first Lunch and Learn was the last week in September, and this program rolls out. There are 4 different Lunch and Learns planned throughout the year. The first one is focusing on post-secondary education. The next one in November will focus on career and college exploration. Then in January, February, the focus will be on the paths to post-secondary education. And then in April, we'll be focusing on education as an investment. With each of these Lunch and Learns, we're going to have, we've created this page on the district website, and then we will be providing resources that parents can access. The Lunch and Learns will be at specific employers that are taking part in the business. So far, the City of Idaho Falls, Ermac, Hartwell Insurance, and Teton Steel are involved in the program. The goal was to try and get kind of a cross-section of different employers, big employers, small employers, to get a sense of how the program works. At this point, we're the only Idaho school district that's participating, but the goal of the Federal Reserve Bank is to create this program, figure out how to make it work, and then roll it out across the region. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity to work with employers and parents and get the whole community to help us amplify that message of the importance of going on. So I would encourage you to check out the page on the website. We'll continue sharing those resources with parents. Thanks.
Thank you.
So much. And then our art teacher of the year, Allison Bailey. Josh, are you gonna help us with that?
Thank you for having us. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to all of you the art Art Institute Education Association, did I say that right? Teacher of the Year for 22-23. And this is Allison Bailey. And she's got this award for a whole host of reasons, let me tell you, but just a few of those. And the most important, I think, number one is she's one of the most accepting people on our campus. Every kid on our campus knows that they've got somebody in their corner with her. And it's so important for us, as well as teaching them some great ways of the ways of art, the mysterious ways of art. But she is amazing at it, and every day you go into her class and they're just working and having a great time. Kids are engaged. I don't think I've ever gone in there and found a kid not engaged. I mean, so which is a pretty amazing thing. So congratulations, Allison, our Teacher of the Year.
Good job.
And I'll just say that the arts teach critical thinking and they teach how students to connect with each other and really to observe the moments. Right.
Allison, we have to thank you for accepting a dilapidated welding shack, turning it into an art classroom that our kids can actually do something with art.
Thank you for giving me a room that holds more than 20.
And you can do some welding as well. Some art welding.
Industrial arts.
Yeah, thank you so much. Students, I'd encourage you to stay for the superintendent's report. He's got some exciting things to talk about with CTE, and then after that, you may be excused.
Very good. Well, I've been looking forward to this presentation for a few days now. As you know, Beverly Hott and Dan and myself went over to Cape Cod Tech in Massachusetts about a week ago. And I wanted to share the things that we discovered while we were over there. And so the conference is titled ACTE, Best Practices and Innovations. And it's produced by the Association for Career and Technical Education. And there were a couple of reasons why we went over. The first is we wanted to see and experience Cape Cod Tech, what it is that they offer there. And another was we wanted to learn from the experts the advancements in career and technical education, and then take the time to discuss our program's progress, where it is we are today, and then envision the future. So those are some of the reasons that we went over. So just real quickly, I want to go by just some things about Cape Cod Tech before I show you some photos. They serve 650 students enrolled from a region that's there. So there's multiple communities that participate in their technical school. It's staffed with industry professionals in each of the areas of focus that they have. They have a wide range of course offerings, which I'll share in a minute, that are tied to economic demand. Technical skills and apprenticeships are part of that program. Programs are tied to local businesses. They teach core subjects at this facility. The facility was built in 2018 at a cost of $122 million. And then they have millions of dollars invested in the actual equipment that's inside the building. Funny enough, when we were receiving our first introduction and orientation, I asked the man in charge, I said, how much did I know what the facility cost, but how much did the actual technology inside the building cost? And he says, oh, I think it was $4 million. And after we walked through, I think I turned to Dan and I said, I think he's missing a zero. And you'll see that as you go through. And then also, interestingly enough, it is a competitive high school. They do play sports out of this facility. So just a quick overview. Again, each area of emphasis has its own shop, which is what they call their laboratories. They call it shop. Classrooms and commons areas for group work. Our tours were conducted by the students that attend school there. They answered many questions about their schedules, how they do this, their focus of study, their connection to industry, and their vision forward. Our tour guide was a senior in the automotive industry program, but was using the skills that she was learning in that unit for further interests in business and art. So that's a fascinating type of approach as they went through. So this picture that you see there is a picture of Cape Cod Tech. Again, it was built in 2018. That's not taken off of the website. I took that standing there as we were getting ready to go in, and they were involved in transition. Next page there, you'll see the building itself as an aerial view. This is where you go during a fire drill. That was why that was there. It was posted on one of the doors. But the white roof is part of, is what the facility looks like. That's just a hallway picture. This gives you some sense of the next page. You'll see the sign there that talks about various programs that are in that hallway, that part of the building, and then going left. But this picture here to the right is basically what one of those lab pods look like. This is the commons area where kids go out to work together on various projects. And then you'll see the classrooms there. But then another entry, there's a door that you can't see, goes into their shop area, and you'll see that as I go through each of the pictures that are there. One of the fascinating programs that they have is dental assisting, and just to kind of give you a sense of, the kids have their classroom area, and then they walk into what a dentist office would look like, and so that's what you're seeing there is a dental operatory. Where it is that you would go in typically and be worked on. You're familiar with that, I'm sure. And then all of the tools that you would use in a dentist office are available. You know, they have some of those mouth items there that they can look at. And then this photo here on the next page is kind of the lab area where students can work from. They'll work together, and then they go into those shop areas. The mannequin that's there that the students work on, fascinating piece of technical equipment to work on, because underneath that mask is a human skull. So students actually work on teeth. And so that was kind of a moment. Dan, I think you remember we all got, whoa, you know, really, I mean, that's what kids are working on. Just to give you some sense as well, when the students enter those areas, they have them labeled electrical theory, HVAC theory, and another one was plumbing. I got a kick out of the Honor Thy Plumber sticker at the top there. So just a sample. The next page is cosmetology. So that's a lab for what they're doing in cosmetology. I think we were kind of set back by that. It looks a little bit nicer than where I get my hair cut, but anyway, it's quite a piece of equipment that they have there. And then the next slide is the Culinary Arts program. This is not the kitchen where the kids receive their food for the day. This is where they work in preparation for the Culinary Arts programs that they're involved with. The red picture there is, you can see through it. That's not the cafeteria. That's where when they do events, they serve people that when they come and go, they'll eat there. That's kind of a patio type of setup. The next one is the electrical shop. And you can see, I took a picture of that because of the banner, and it's kind of hard to read there, but it's the Massachusetts Association for the Electrical Trades. And clearly, if you're looking for an electrician to come out of a program that's well-trained, and you know the shortage of electricians that you have, you probably want to be interested in this program. You can see it, the photo at the top and the one at the bottom. The one at the bottom really is just, you know, like stalls where students will go in and they'll see how things flow in the electrical environment. Then they have to come out and you'll see that pitched roof area and actually wire that up like it was a house. So some very hands-on, fascinating type of work that's set up in that type of environment. The next page, this is their information technology labs that they have. And you can see back towards the background there, that's where the servers and how it is the kids work on the server areas that they have, some pods for computers, some things that we are very familiar with that we have in our technical labs. But what's fascinating is they actually have a print shop in the high school. And it runs just like that. In fact, the man that you see with the white lab coat type on there, he's actually sold his print shop and decided to do this instead, and very much enjoying working with the kids. But they have just about everything that you could think of in order to produce. They take orders from the community, they push them out. Very exciting look. This is the next page is Cape Cod Tech again. This is their HVAC lab, so heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And you can see how the pods are developed, how it is that they look in that photo. The one at the top is parts. You go to your parts bin to pick that up. A little bit different look on some of the areas where the kids look. And then I took a picture of the window there, mostly because you could see how it is that the kids will go out of the lab in the setup and then go outside like you typically would for your house to manage that piece of equipment there. Quickly, I'm just rolling through these as fast as I can, but this is the automotive section. We have a nice shop over here underneath the West Stadium. Some of the differences there, you'll notice the picture up at the top, the left one at the top, that's a paint booth. So they have a pretty robust collision repair type shop. The one next to it is where you mix paint. It's computer paint mix. You can't see what's behind me, and that's where the colors and things are stored, but pretty robust. And then the two at the bottom on the right are the marine. You think of Cape Cod and all the water that's around. There's quite a demand for people that know how to fix an outboard motor, an inboard motor. So they do that. They actually have 3 different automotive type technologies going on with 3 different types of labs in there. The next photos are, this is their horticulture, agricultural shop that they have. And I was fascinated by this because it's probably the first one that I've seen that actually has the backhoes, the skid steers, all of the major equipment that you would want your students to come out and know how to run, and could be quite skilled in doing so. The middle picture is another one that I was fascinated by. They're teaching sprinkler repair and installation. Think of the demand on that. Laura, you would know that very well. But I certainly asked about that, and the kids come out of there and they know how to take care of these sprinkler systems. And then this is coming out of their lab. That's their year-round greenhouse that they have there, and has all HVAC controls, and it's not plastic. That was what usually that's what you see. So those are the pictures that I took. We had a wonderful experience there, and so just some learnings from the experts and the advancements in career and technical education. Very clear to state that CTE is economic development, if you think about it. The kids are going through these programs, they're getting the skills, they're earning the workforce, it's economic development. CTE programs improve graduation rates. They had research to show around that. They improve student performance. Interestingly enough, at one of our bond presentations the other night, we had a parent come up and talk to us about their student who was failing and has now become involved in the CTE program and is doing better than they ever have. So that was great feedback that we received, and really enjoyed hearing that. CTE programs connect students to authentic learning environments. That's one that we heard over and over. CTE programs take theory application to make connections to economic and financial gain. CTE programs can be certificate bearing and dual credit, as one of the things we're working on tonight. CTE programs are formative and can begin in programs as early as 3rd grade, which was a fascinating concept that we learned about, how it is that they're introducing this in the lower grades. And then CTE programs engage, model the way, and make connections to industry.
And
So-
they start at 9th grade at this facility?
Yes, this is a 9 through 12 facility. Yeah. So some points of interest from the keynote presenters. I won't go into that. You can look at that when you want. You have to get your magnifying glass out to read, but just some interesting quotes from this person who gave this presentation. Nationally, 1/5 of students complete high school. 1/5 of students. I better get my glasses out. Graduate from high school and go no further. 1/5 enroll in college but drop out. 1/5 complete college but fail to find a job required by the degree they earned. And then 1/5 travel successfully through the high school to college to career pipeline. So some fascinating statistics. Their analysis of that is, quote, the college dropout rate is not an outlier in the modern education landscape. It's the standard. And so the research is showing that CTE connects kids directly to not only those pipeline types of things where it is to be successful, but how it is that they can provide for themselves in the future. I'm going to skip over loving that CT and the other things. It's just a graph that I can share at another time. But I went to 3 interesting sessions that I attended. The first one was Women in the Trades, that was given by Central New Mexico Community College, and they spoke to how it is that women are starting to enter the trades, the skill sets that they're bringing in, which are fascinating. They have some research to show that women who complete a welding program actually are better at it because of their attention to detail. And so that was fascinating to hear. I don't know that you hear that a lot. And then the Apollo Career Center and their partnership with General Dynamics and the N1 Abrams tank. That's in Ohio. And then another fascinating one, Hollywood on the Prairie, the Oklahoma film industry. Now, I don't think a lot of people think of Oklahoma in the film industry, but it is robust. And they had a director who presented at that breakout session who has worked on, probably 50 films that all of you know. All of the Lucas films, all of these other things. And anyway, just a fascinating environment because they've hooked the film industry into the CTE programs so that kids can enter that. And there's a huge demand for film across the country. They can't keep up. And so a quick update on our Ctec program that we just recently enrolled. That's a picture of our ENT program. And you can see at the front of the classroom there is Debbie Critchfield, who's a candidate for state superintendent. She was in district yesterday and was touring our facility with 3 other superintendents in the area and talking about what it is that we need to do to get more facilities like this across the state. So anyway, that was a great thing to have happen. I found this banner on the wall over at Ctec. And how it is that CTE teaches professionalism, and you can see that how it is the 10 golden rules of professionalism are part of what's that programming. I thought that was fantastic. And then of course, and Larry's on the phone, so I got to tell him the anatomage table is up and running. They were using it yesterday, and it's just a fascinating, extremely advanced medical device for students to be able to learn. And there's only a few places that have one. So really very excited to have that in our program. And so that was the ACT best practices. I'd like to inform the board that this conference next year is in Salt Lake City. So it's very close, we can get to, and I would love for you to come. We can make those arrangements.
Do you know where in Salt Lake, or is there a program in Salt Lake that's real good like this one?
Usually that's what they do. They highlight something that has been an award winner or something that's really, really neat for people to go to. I don't know where that's at. I just saw the banner and it's going to Salt Lake City, and we thought, well, that's very close. Let's get as many people to it as we can. All right, so that's my report. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Okay, high reliabilities side. Kelly? Yes.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Anderson. I'm the principal at Westside. This is my 2nd year at Westside, and whoever said Westside is the best side was not lying. It's really been great to be there, and it's just wonderful staff and students and community. So I feel grateful to be there. So a couple things I wanted to share with you. Some celebrations are ice station data, where we ended in the spring, was looking really good. We were above the state average in all of our grades except for kindergarten. So we know we have some room to work in that. We're really excited about all-day kindergarten and how powerful that's going to be. My first grade teachers in particular are very excited about all-day kindergarten to be able to see the difference in those kiddos when they come into first grade. So as far as our ISAT data goes, our ISAT data was a little bit lower than our ice station. So again, that gives us some room to work. We were above the state average in all areas except for 3rd grade ELA and 4th grade math. So that gives us, we can look at those groups of kids, see what extra interventions they need and stuff like that. So we'll continue working on improving those as always. Some other celebrations, like I mentioned, we have a wonderful community support, a thriving PTO. We just had our fall carnival like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. The days are all blurring together. But it was really good. We had a lot of just support with that. We have a lot of daily classroom volunteers, lots of people that come in and read with kiddos and stuff. So our hallways are always busy, which we love to see. We worked really hard this last year on tightening up our common school-wide expectations. We have posters throughout the school. All of our staff members wear the expectations on their lanyards so that if we need to have a quick chat with the kiddo and remind them of something, it's here and accessible. We did a school tour at the beginning of the year, and then we're working on making some videos that our teachers can use in the classrooms to remind kids of the expectations. We also this year started what we call pack shout-outs. So as I said, we're a pack. We're the wolves, so we focus really hard on that. And I am not lying when I say it's the best 2 or 3 minutes of my day every morning when I get to read those shout outs over the announcements. Kids just write, it's just great. Kids are writing them for each other. They're noticing things that other kids are doing. So, we focus on staff can write them for students, staff can write them for each other, and it just really starts our day off on a positive note. So we have a goal of minimum 500 of those this school year. So other school goals, we're committed to being certified HRS level 1 by May 1st. We have pretty much everything implemented. Now it's just a matter of gathering all that data and getting it submitted. So we will continue learning about and growing within HRS level 2. We're going to increase our IRI scores and our IFAP scores. So we have a couple goals within that. We've implemented win time this year, so what I need for both reading and math in all grade levels. So every grade level has a half hour of dedicated win time for reading and then a half hour for math. That's where we use our Title I support and we really get those kiddos what they need. We have a unique challenge at Westside where we have a very high gifted and talented population. So we do a really good job growing our kiddos that are struggling, but we're working really hard on also growing our kids who are high. Just because they come in high, they should leave even higher. So we're working hard on that. We have 3 areas of focus within HRS level 1. So we're focusing on teachers having formal roles in the decision-making process. We've got our committees up and running. I hold ideas and concern sessions once a trimester. We use Google surveys to gather input. And then we're also focusing on, so going off of that is just, providing input. We're starting some consider this forms that are just available. So just trying to hit all those pieces, the technology piece, that, maybe someone wants to write down what they're thinking so that we can reach everybody. And then another area that was lower for us was just, that transparency when it comes to spending and our budget, that kind of stuff. Teachers just weren't sure how that all works. So we're working on increasing that as well. So yeah, that's a quick summary where we're at Westside, but do you have any questions for me?
Could we go back to that last slide? I just didn't quite get everything on it.
Yeah, so that one, this one is that leading indicator we were a little bit lower on. So some of the things that we've done, making sure that we've got committee notes shared with all of our staff members. Because that's another thing, we've got our HRS and our school culture committee, but not everybody gets the opportunity to serve on those committees. So we're trying to be really just transparent in what we talk about in those. I took our per student allocation and I divided it between all of our classrooms and I told teachers, okay, you have this much money to spend on things you need for your classroom. Are you doing an art project and you need containers? Don't run out to Walmart and buy them. Let me buy them for you. Just those things that sometimes teachers I'll just go get it. We have the funds. And so I think, just being really transparent with that. And it's been really good. Thank you. Yeah.
We're currently certified level 1.
We're not currently certified level 1, no.
So when's that going to take place?
So we will by May 1st.
By May 1st?
Yep, and actually I think it'll even be sooner.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The finance update.
So you guys, I ordered you 2 books, but only one of them came. Other than Hillary has the one copy of the one. And this is just, they produced it for boards because it kind of gives you a snapshot of the different reporting required. Kind of some overview, but if you want to turn to page 31, this is what we're going to do at the next meeting. This covers is our financial review. So Teresa will come and present the financial review. And I just thought, because I've had a lot of questions, you know, with the bond coming up, people ask about certain items on our financial statements. So when Teresa presents this year, I was showing Hillary where exactly you could find that information on our statements, which sometimes you don't always know unless you're an accountant. So there's a couple of things that we're required to do because we are as large as we are and we receive federal funding. And one of them is to have an independent audit. But I think sometimes people forget that what they're auditing is essentially the statements that I produced. So we close the year, we produce the statements, and then Whitley comes in and looks at our statements and sees that they think that as a whole, they materially represent the district's financial position at year end. And so we get a lot of people ask us, you know, for questions about the bond, and we're like, wait, we don't know that yet. And they're like, why? And the statement is due to the state on November 15th for this very reason, because it takes time to close the year, but we also are considered an accrual agency. So we really take all of the expenses in July and August and go through them and move them back to last year so that we have a full fiscal year of accountability that then is tested. So I do get asked a lot, why are we still working in June? And that's why, because it takes us until September to finalize the statements, and then the auditors test our documents, and then we have 45 days to turn around and produce that document to the state. But I also wanted to point out, because I've had some comments at both budget hearings and then at the view, there isn't a comment period on the financial statements because it's really their assessment of what we've already produced. So most governments like us are what we consider budgeting agencies. So we work off of a budget. So it's really important when we do the budget next May. That's when you guys look at our budget and say, here's what we're going to do next year. And then the financial statements are just the follow-up from the outside entity going, yes, this is what happened. Did it match the budget? And when we get to it next month, I'll show you there's a page where it compares. Here's what you said you were going to do. Here's what you did. And those are the kind of things where there isn't much we can do about the financial statements. They are what they are at that point. But it's a good way to reflect and say, okay, we planned, you know, one thing that will stick out in this financial statement is staffing. You know, we always budget a number for substitutes. We couldn't find substitutes last year, so we're going to have a variance. Those kinds of things show up in the financial statements, but we can use them to plan going forward. But it takes a little bit of walking through why it's there. So that is my financial update, and hopefully I'll have the statement books for you before you get the statements, because they do show you this is what it looks like in presentation form.
Angela, when you say next board meeting, are you talking the 26th or 4 weeks from today?
The 26th,
The
at the work
26th.
session.
And then
I think it's 25th.
25th, yeah.
Tuesday, sorry. And then that has to be printed in the newspaper, right?
No, so that's what I mean is the difference is this is actually submitted to the state in an electronic format, and then it is published on the state website in the financial transparency section. We do put it on our website, but there isn't any, it's not like the budget where you have a comment period. It's really just our financial statements. We also file them with the SEC because we hold bonds. And so it's in the regulatory side of the government, but not for the transparency, we just post a link. And then it does go to the state, the SDE, and they bring it into their statements as a whole. So you can.
So is it the budget that gets put in the post
Yeah.
register? Will you just find the date that we did that in May and text it to me?
We had our budget hearing.
It was actually in June, was it not?
Yes.
June.
So I have to publish 2 weeks before, and I want to say it was an odd day in June because of.
We had to
It was
change the
actually-
We had
meeting.
to change it a couple times.
I just need to make sure it's the exact date. I can't have a guess.
Yeah,
So
and
we
I can
get-
find out.
With the exact date that
Because the
was.
hearing,
Probably important.
we always have to let Penny Manning know in the spring, and that is open for public comment. So we publish the state, what we project it to be, and then people can come to a budget hearing and ask questions, that kind of thing. Whereas this next one is a review, and it's basically just her certifying whether or not she thinks our statements are,
Is the budget on the website?
yes.
Yeah. But
budget
that's on the
hearing was-
website, but if you could get me that date when we publish that in the Post
The
Register.
budget hearing was on the 15th of June.
So what was it posted in, or not posted? Was
It's posted
in
2
the
weeks prior.
Post Register?
Yes, twice.
So can I just get the date?
We'll get it for you.
Thank you, Jim. I guess I'm not articulating things very well.
Do you want the date of the
I want the
publication?
date that if I go to the Post Register and said, give me the June 9th paper, I'm gonna find,
Which is not the hearing date. It would be the
No,
2
we'll
dates.
get it to you.
thank you.
No.
Any other questions for Angela? All right. Investment in education update.
Okay. First, I'd just like to start by thanking, the district staff, Dr. Shank, Paul, everybody who's been participating, Margaret, and, all the educational things that we've been doing, all the outreach we've been doing in the community. I mean, it's been a big task, but I think it's been really well received. We've had good feedback, we've had good turnout, people asking really good questions and wanting information about the bond. So again, appreciate everybody's help in doing that. One of the things I kind of wanted to bring up with the board since we're here is we have been getting a lot of questions about what happens if the bond doesn't pass. And so I think, we're all hopeful. I feel like we've got really good momentum and things look good. But I think as a board, we need to start looking at if it doesn't pass, there's going to be actions that we need to take. Do we look at split sessions? Do we start looking at year-round schools for elementary? What are some of these options? Because our schools are full. We are at a critical point, and it's going to come down to the 5 of us having to make some really hard decisions if this bond doesn't pass. And it's going to happen, and we're going to have to be prepared for that. And so I just kind of want everybody to start processing, some of the difficult things we're going to have to do if this doesn't pass. Paul, do you have any feedback with that? I mean, I know you've been getting some of those same questions.
We've attended a lot of luncheons. I don't know how many. Margaret, do you know how many luncheons? we've had so far? Yeah,
Probably at least 6.
6 or 7. We've had one every day this week. We have one tomorrow. We have 2 events tomorrow. We have a luncheon with,
Superintendent.
yeah. Yep, them, Civitans. And then we have a meeting tomorrow night with the Bonneville County Republican Executive Committee. So I think it's great to take advantage of these invitations and let people understand our situation. But as Hillary mentioned, start to get questions on the what if, because everyone knows that this is the 3rd time we've run this bond. Well, not this particular bond, but this bond contains parts of a prior bond, 2 prior bonds, just specifically Idaho Falls High School and renovation of Skyline High School. So, and of course, the legislature has done a great job in making it really difficult. Idaho, one of 2 states that require a supermajority to get funds approved to build new facilities. So it's really difficult. In fact, I was laughing. I read an article in Idaho Ed News, I believe it was today or yesterday, that it was published, where Senator Lent was hosting not a meet and greet, it was a committee meeting, talking about schools and funding schools. They had a longtime superintendent there testifying of the schools in Idaho and how they're not keeping up with the growth and how they're old and outdated. And he said, we can't have kids in our schools that were built in the 70s. Was the quote they had in the Idaho Ed News. And I'm like, God, 70s is sounding pretty good for Idaho Falls School District. We'd take schools built in the 70s. Anyway, but the question has come to me, and so this is how I answered it. I got the same question that Hillary did. What do we do if the bond passes? Because I've been in our schools a lot. Dr. Powell, who has been incredibly gracious, has allowed us to take several people on tour in this facility. Principal Newell, same with Skyline, where we've taken people through that facility so they can see. And we always talk in here about how crowded our schools are, but to stand in the hallways firsthand and to witness this, it isn't safe. I always knew that we had classrooms outside of Idaho Falls High School. I didn't realize until after being with Dr. Pell that we have 400 kids every period, which means 6 times a day, walking 150 yards across a storm drainage area. Or if that's full of water and full of snow, then this, I'm guessing, 250 yards, because they got to walk all the way around it to get to their classrooms. It's just not a safe situation for multiple reasons. And so I was just shocked. And so I've thought a lot about the question of what if the bond doesn't pass? Because to me, there's only 2 solutions. And if Larry and the remaining trustees have other solutions to this, I'd love to hear them, because I can only think of 2 solutions. But when you have more students than what you currently have capacity to teach and to safely teach, you can do one of 2 things. You can build additional facilities, which is what the board has proposed and approved and now going to bond, or to vote, I should say, on November 8th. And that's one solution, build additional facilities and increase capacity of those facilities, like what we're doing with a new IF, 2 new elementary schools, and a renovated Skyline High School that increases both our high schools to a capacity of 1,800 people. If you don't build new facilities, you only have the facilities that you have. And that means you got to put more people in those facilities. I think that's been taking place for the last, let's just call it 10 years. I don't know.
At least 10 years.
A long time. We'll call it a minimum of 10 years, because I can confirm for sure 10 years. And I don't think that's an answer anymore. I think we're literally using closets. I've witnessed. We're using areas that were never meant to be classrooms. We're using areas that were never meant to have instruction taking place in them. And we're all out of those areas. And so the only other option is to get more kids in the same facilities that you have, is you got to split the time. Which I didn't know when I thought of this, that there was actually, that's an option for schools, is having split sessions, having kids come. I don't know what that looks like. I guess that's why I bring it up, Dr. Shank. Is that like kids come at 7 in the morning and get released at 1 in the afternoon, and a second session comes at 2:30 and goes till 7 o'clock at night? I have no idea.
We would probably have to determine kind of what those look like.
I personally have 0 experience in year-round school and in split sessions. But if there's another, you're laughing, is there another idea?
No, the district I grew up in went to year-round school, and people were really mad about it because, like, siblings got split into different sessions and they couldn't take family vacations anymore.
And I've learned that, I guess we've done that in our district before. I don't know our history. Split session, yeah. Someone who actually participated in that at one of our luncheons back when he was a child came up and told me about that. But I don't know any other options. I know what we're doing right now is dangerous. I personally think it's irresponsible as a board. I just look at it this way. I was telling someone yesterday, I lived in China for 5 years, and I had to explain a lot of things to the government. And every decision that I made, I always asked myself, how would I make and explain this to a government official? Because if you can't answer that question, you better change your decision. And I think of these 400 kids that are walking from this facility to one of the 11 classrooms outside of this facility 6 times a day. And if there was a school shooting or a stabbing or a major fight or something, we know that the national media is going to parachute in on this facility, because there was a school shooting in Rigby that involved 1 individual, 0 deaths, and this national media was there for over a week trying to find information. So they come into this facility and they ask the question, because we're responsible as a board, we're the trustees, how in the world do you allow 400 kids to walk 6 times a day, 150 yards across the field? And I can't answer that question other than to say, well, God, that's the way we've always done it. And
We've
the way
normalized bad behavior.
we have normalized bad behavior. And times have changed. We laughed yesterday. Have times changed? Absolutely. This facility, when it was built, had a shooting range in the basement. It was part of the school.
Right, and a bowling alley.
And you just don't have shooting ranges in schools today. In fact, you have you have laws and things in place that protect schools. There are gun-free zones, et cetera. And times have changed. And we have become complacent, I think, in accepting bad behavior as the only other option. And I don't feel good about that anymore. I don't want to have to explain to anybody why I was okay with their child walking 150 yards to go to class twice a day, going to class and coming back, assuming they only have one class outside of this facility. So I don't know, Dr. Shank, I guess I look to you and your staff. I'd like to learn more about it. I know West Side, we're busing kids that live almost across the street from West Side to other facilities, or excuse me, not West Side, Sunnyside, to other schools because we can't get them in West Side.
Sunnyside.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Sunnyside. We just had such a wonderful presentation. But it's like one of those, who's running this district? That makes no sense. It's a fair question. You know, when you can see the elementary school from your front window, but my kid is going to a school 2 schools away because this school doesn't have capacity to take them in because I just moved in. The only way we increase capacity at Sunnyside and several of our schools, majority of them, would be split session. We got to divide those kids up into 2 groups. And I don't know how split session to me makes sense on how to fit more people in the same building. I don't know how year-round school works. To me, I'm confused a little bit on how year-round school would increase capacity of that building. I don't even know if it does it?
Yeah, it allows for more students to attend the same building. They're on different tracks. So a segment of the population is on a track, the other one's off. They come back, they're off, they come back.
So it's year-round school for the building, but not so much for the student attending.
That is correct.
But you don't get your traditional school year.
It's like 2 on, 1 off.
August, so end of August through end of May-ish, like we have, you end up with like 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. And that's why it was really not popular.
It's
In
a
my
hard schedule for
experience with
kids for
it.
the educational purpose of schooling, if you're off for 6 weeks, you know.
Well, and then, like I said, you know, siblings end up on different tracks and it makes it impossible to ever leave town with your whole family.
I agree. I got no argument against some inconveniences of both split session and year-round school. But I think as a board, we need to get on the whiteboard and make a list of priorities of what's most important to this district and to the board of this district.
Hopefully education's really high on
And I
that
hope
list.
education is really high, and I would hope safety is really high on that list, because those are our responsibilities. And family vacation, and I'm not saying this to be mean or rude, but it's like family vacation is not even on the list. That's not our.
But you can bet people will be calling us about it.
Well, sure.
But I mean, are we doing an educational disservice by, teaching kids in closets? And
No,
that's, so these are the discussions we're gonna have to have.
I'm just saying.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We need to, if this doesn't pass, we need to get the whiteboard out. We need to know the options. We need to be prepared that there are probably some really tough decisions that are gonna have to be made by us.
And they'll be very unpopular.
Yeah.
Well, you've heard me say in public more than once now, whether the bond passes or not, we are looking at a rebounding. Because we don't have an option.
Yeah, because even if a bond passed today, we're 2 to 4 years away from those facilities. High schools, yes, impacting the district, the students of the district. But I also feel like we can't wait any longer too. I think we need to have all of our options on the table. I don't think we can wait until November to start having these discussions. I do think we need feedback, to your point, Elizabeth. I think we need to hear from patrons. I think we need to do some surveys with Margaret. I think we need, I just think we need to get the ball in motion, because we all know the numbers. We have 1,400 students in this facility, in this Idaho Falls High School that was built for 800 students. And those 1,400 students aren't going anywhere. And it's only going to get worse. We, Hillary and Dr. Schenk and I were at Rotary Club giving a presentation on the school, and the mayor and a member or two of the city council were there, and Dr. Schenk was talking about the number of doors that have been approved by planning and zoning in the city. 3,000 doors, or 3,000 plus doors. I can't remember exactly how you said it, Dr. Schenk, but the mayor raised her hand and said you should actually be saying over 4,000 doors, was what she was aware of as mayor of the city. So I'm gonna go with her number. It's her city. She's elected the government. She should know. So 4,000 doors. Those are approved by the city doors, like construction could begin any day. I know there's a lot more than that that's out there as developments are being planned and taking place. So this isn't an issue that we just need to wait it out and things will get better on their own. It's only going to get worse. And we're behind the 8 ball right now. I feel like we've already taken too long to start asking these questions and looking at these issues. And maybe I'm personally more passionate about it now because I've just
been so in it.
Yes, I've witnessed it. I've been told about it before in the past, and I'm like, okay, that's an issue we got to address. But now I've personally witnessed it too many times. And again, I look at this school, and I've told people as I watch the hallway exchange between periods, and if there were ever a fire or an emergency in this building, I am very, very confident that we would lose more students by trampoline than we would by the emergency that created the issue in the first place. Because there's this stairwell that you can only put about 3 kids wide. And when there's an emergency, it's not orderly like a fire drill. And I haven't seen a fire drill at either school. Well, actually I have at Skyline, but not here, but I've seen class exchange, and that's chaotic enough. And when you got kids knowing that there's smoke and fire in the air and all they want to do is get out, order goes away. And so to just imagine what this school would look like when you're looking at it during class exchange and thinking of it as an emergency, I am very, very confident. You know, Indonesia just had 170 people die from trampoline at a soccer match because some things happened and people got scared and started running, and 100-something people, 70 people got trampled. And I'm very, very fearful that something like that could happen here at IF. If this building was built to hold 800 people, it should have 800 people in it. And so if that means we need to do split session, if that's the best answer, or year-round school, if that's the best answer, I don't know the best way. And I guess
Best of
that's what
the
I'm
worst
looking to do.
answers.
Yeah. I guess, Dr. Schenk, to ask you to start having your team tell us what that looks like and what the best options are.
We can do that.
Because what we're doing today it's not good. And I've spoken a lot about safety, but again, Hillary makes a great point with education, which is why we're here. And you look in some of these classrooms and how our kids are stacked in them, we're not doing justice to our students.
Does the attorney ever get to chime in?
Oh,
yeah.
I gotta reposition my chair. Sorry, Aaron, I didn't.
I did a lot of concentrating the last 2 weeks, which is basically the lawyers get together and talk about schools. But my other recommendation on this would be, if we're gonna do some of those things, we better have a really good detailed agenda in November, which is after the vote. We have to do some of this, but they did talk about a lot of problems that they got into in other school districts where some of these decisions were made and the people felt like they didn't get a chance to weigh in. So make sure that every one of those ideas is really detailed on there. I think that'll.
And then we have time
Well, and
for
I think,
feedback.
yeah, I think that's a really good point, Aaron, and I appreciate that, but that just even emphasizes more why I think we need to start today, because yes, we're not talking about this being impacted to the second trimester, at least from my point of view, the second trimester and the third trimester of the current school year. But could it happen in the coming school year, the 23-24 school year? I think it's highly possible if the bond but doesn't pass. Because I tell you what, I'm personally not comfortable as a trustee having the kids that we have in this school and being able to tell the patrons of this area that your kids are safe. I couldn't tell them that, to be honest with you. I would say, here's the concerns I have. But I wouldn't tell them that their kids are safe.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, but that's why I think
Get
we
it
need
on
to
the
start
agenda.
now, is because I could see it being 23-24. We got to do something. And like I said, I only know of two options. The first option is add more facilities to your school district to accommodate the growth and the capacity that the enrollments that we have, or get more out of your current buildings. And how do you get more out of your current buildings? The track with year-round school, thanks Elizabeth, or split sessions. And yeah, I think we do need to go to the public and say, what do you prefer? And what do you want to do? But doing nothing is not an option for me.
Oh, very good. Good points.
Okay.
And thank you for the robust schedule that the two of you have done. Pounding the pavement. Are you getting any sleep? Probably not. Gaining 5 pounds at all the lunches. I hope they're feeding you well. At least
The lunches have been fantastic.
It's been really great.
And not because of the food, but it's
talking with the community.
it's a controversial issue in the sense that with any issue you throw out, people are going to support it and people are going to be against it, right? And I like being out in the community and meeting with people, but I got to say, everyone has been incredibly receptive. What's your take?
It is, overall, I think people are very concerned that it's not gonna go through, but there's been an outpouring of, really positive support and, people want to see
And
it happen.
understanding that it's a need. It's no longer a want. This is a need.
Yeah, it's been a need at a minimum for 10 years.
Right.
It's getting worse and, I think people are starting to realize that. So that's positive.
And the
Larry,
beat goes on. We've got quite a few more to do. So.
Larry, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just my appreciation, as I've been laid up to do anything the last few weeks. I really appreciate the legwork that Paul, you and Hillary are putting in on this on behalf of the board. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right, on to patron input. Did you receive anything, Jess?
Did not.
Okay. On to the IFEA report. Welcome, Julie.
Hello. You guys need to get me in a different spot. Good times and exciting things to share. We have a couple of events coming up that are pretty exciting. We were going to have a paint night in October, but that kind of fizzled out. So we're going to have a Halloween party.
Oh, fun.
Which, surprisingly, people are excited to dress up. We like to do that. So we're going to have a little Halloween costume party, and that's going to be on the 26th. In November, we're going to have a pie and politics little get-together, which is kind of exciting. We've had a lot of feedback so far. A lot of legislators that aren't typically super gung-ho to come out have already said yes, and they're going to come. My exec board was talking about the other night. They called it speed dating for legislators. We're to sit at a round table, eat some pie, and then, after 5 or 10 minutes, move along to the next one. Kind of focus on some public education legislation. Jesse Donnelly and I spent a couple days in Boise for our annual training with the IEA, and we developed some PD that we'll bring back for our members here in town, and worked on some legislative training and some initiatives for students. And I guess, I'll just tag on to what we just talked about. We've had a lot of teachers reaching out to us, which has been really exciting. wanting to go out and talk to the community, hang door hangers, and they really want to get the word out about our district. So that's been great. We've been working on a get out the vote plan, you know, because I think especially with teachers, by the time that day comes to vote, we're pretty tired and sometimes we don't leave campus until voting is close. So we're working on, you know, get out the vote early, that kind of stuff. So just encouraging people to get out and vote, understand the facts behind the bond. And so I really want to thank Paul and Hillary and our district bond group for all their factual information. It's been really easy for us to come out with the facts, what's going on with the bond, and kind of how to pass that information along, and just kind of keeping that message. This really is about our students, and our students deserve better than where they're at right now. So that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Julie.
much. Special education math curriculum. Hey, Andrea, welcome.
Hey there. Thank you. So, came before you in August, I believe, to ask for your permission to form a committee and look at a special education math curriculum that would align with the HMH into math curriculum that has been adopted K-8. And so we did that. The document that was in board packet just sort of outlines what that process was and ends with our recommendation, which is a program called Number Worlds. Publisher is McGraw-Hill. And you don't have the updated total cost, but I do. I have an updated quote, and that cost is $84,600 roughly. So I'm here tonight to update you on that process and where we are. We would like your permission to move forward with an open house and then come to you again in a month for final approval and purchase of the program. This is the K-8 special education.
I couldn't get the link in our packet to work to preview the curriculum.
I apologize.
I did not discover this until today, so I apologize for springing this on people, but yeah, I couldn't get it to work.
That's
So
okay.
if we could have a fresh link.
You bet.
What? For the PDF?
File?
I didn't even see the link. Which link are you referring to?
Isn't it on the
In,
PDF.
It's in the PDF.
It's within the PDF.
yeah, it's within the PDF and it didn't want me to like click on it or highlight it or anything.
Oh, I
and-
see.
Oh, McGraw-Hill Numbered Worlds.
Yeah, I should have thought of this earlier. I apologize.
Did you
I
try
can
cutting and
send a
pasting it?
It wouldn't let me highlight the whole thing at once.
I see what you're saying.
It wouldn't let me highlight
If you'll
two
just
lines.
email us at
Yep.
Andrea, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Since we have.
So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Other than that, be okay to move forward with public review.
I was wondering if maybe we could have like a quick list of like highlights to look at in the curriculum, like things you thought were really great about this curriculum. And maybe not even more than 5, like 3 to 5. Just
The
what are we
big
looking for that
thing-
you like so much?
The one thing that we like so much that sets this program apart from all of the others is that it's conceptual versus skill-based. So most of the curriculum programs that we look at for special education or intervention, they're skill-based. They focus on the basics of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. As students go through, particularly as they get a little bit older, what we really need help in remediation with is those conceptual understandings, following the standards. So the thing that we loved about this program is that it's aligned to the standards, but it breaks down those lessons in a way that students with learning disabilities or other developmental disabilities can more readily understand. And it has that direct instruction piece that most of our intervention programs don't have.
Can I suggest this, Elizabeth, because it's not an action item for approval today, so just so
No, I
they're
just was
allowed
hoping they
to
could-
move forward, we
Yeah.
give them a
Oh,
nod.
absolutely. They're
but
just giving
then-
us a report.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping that, and I think that answered my question. So I'm,
And I can document that, and then when I send Jess the link for the program, I'll type that up. And I can include some links into these other programs too, the things that were kind of considered but rejected. That way you can go in and look at those and see where they're really just skill-based versus this is a comprehensive contextual program.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Andrea. Okay, then other items, just a reminder that the ISBA annual convention is coming up November 9th through the 11th. If there's any updates to attending or not attending, please let Jess know, probably no later than Friday. Does that work, Jess?
Yes, please, thank you.
I'll just state what I've said before. It's in the middle of high school football state playoffs. I'm not gonna know my ability to attend until either Skyline loses, basically until Skyline loses. So I can't tell you this week, next week.
So basically, we're rooting for Skyline at this point, and so you're probably not going to attend, right?
Yeah, go ahead. If that's what it takes for you to get to Skyline, so I don't attend, I'll take the rooting for Skyline. But I just, and I don't know what I know Larry's got a son that plays. I know Hillary that has a son that plays. I'm obviously not speaking for them, but for me, I can't answer that question until the team loses.
Yeah, we're holding a place though, right?
Yes.
In the event that you're able to.
And I'm planning on it. I just, if
Yep.
the game were
You might
together,
cut out
I'd
early.
fly back early.
Situation.
And absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
If I may,
Yes.
Chair, okay, I think you've all received an email from ISBA, not necessarily specific to the convention, but it has to do with I don't know how I guess it's the Consortium of State School Boards Association. And I got an email from Misty this week, basically asking our level of interest in attending their national conference. So I told her I'd pass this down tonight, have you take a look at it. And Idaho is one of 23 states that has joined this new consortium. You'll remember that we once belonged to National School Boards Association. And you've got copies? Okay. And anyway, I think Misty's interested in our disposition on attendance, along with that, a possibility to present at the conference. And anyway, I told her I was willing to put something together. I think she's on the leadership group for this new association. So just as an informational item, I'm not asking for anything tonight, but just to be aware, I'll probably ask Jess to send you an email to poll your interest in attending. This is in Tampa Bay, just to be clear. NSBA is in Orlando. They're on the same weekend, which is fascinating. This group came along, I don't know, 6 months or so ago, I think it was. And that's what Idaho decided to go with. So just to be clear, and I'd ask you to take a look at their guiding principles and some of the other governance statements that they've made, and then the states that have joined. And again, we'll just pull your interest and find out what you'd like to do.
Can you remind me of the dates?
Yes.
I don't see them in here.
March 31st through April 2nd. And that's a weekend.
Right, they do like a Friday, Saturday.
Friday through Sunday type thing. It's pretty typical.
Any other questions regarding? And on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions regarding the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. That leads us to our first action item, the Cte Graduation Requirement.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I'm here to answer any questions if you have them, but Bev presented on this last month.
Everybody received the PDF in your packet. Any questions for Chris?
Were there any changes to the packet from last time?
No.
Or was it the same?
Oh, yeah. Do I have any?
Sorry, I just want to make sure. I know last board meeting, and I'm just looking at mathematics here. We asked the district to investigate the option of requiring mathematics for
Seniors.
the seniors. That's separate from this, correct?
This is different than that. The committee's formed. Chris is actually the lead on that as well.
I was just looking at this where it says mathematics, 6 credits, so I couldn't remember if that's what spawned that conversation or if it was something.
It did not. This is a different context than the other. The other was a state requirement.
The state changes.
Yeah,
No, that's not on the agenda,
it's not on the agenda, so.
but it was in the context of the state changing their requirements, which is not this.
So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the Cte Graduation Requirements.
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is the Hrs Plcu Resolution.
Very good. You recall last year, we passed this resolution and specific to some goals that we had set with progression through the HRS levels. And with the new goals, I wanted to place those in the last paragraph there, the now therefore section that represent what it was discussed at the retreat with administrators as well as our retreat in August when those goals were set. So the way this was written last year, it does have this need to be renewed each year based upon the goals that are set. So it's my recommendation that the board approve this evening.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the HRS PLC Resolution 2022-2023.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then our first reading of the many board policies that everyone received in their packet. It's
Yeah.
quite robust.
Very good. Yes. This is the moment you've been waiting for, I'm sure, with our policy review. The 1000 series that we've been communicating with ISBA about is before you. The changes are in red, and there are a number of them. I hope that you've taken a moment to review them. Most of these have to do with trustee, and those are listed there. The ones that we're moving from the trustee section to the students are basically ones that fit better in those environments, as well as the personnel items. We're not necessarily making a ton of changes there, we're just moving them. So that's laid out there. And then as far as recommendation, clearly we're recommending that these be approved. They've been vetted by ISBAs. I don't know how many times we've exchanged those, but Jess has been a big part of that and working hard to make sure that they're in order. We'd entertain any questions that you might have, but we would recommend that they be approved. And I would also share that some of the guidance we received from ISBA is that we need to read these one by one rather than stating as presented. That was one of the feedback items we received from Lisa Sherrick when she was here.
With that motion, does it need to be motion to approve first reading?
First reading, please, yes.
More specific to first reading. I have a question, but do you want it to take place now or after the motion?
Yeah, that's fine.
So on section 3085, sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation policy, the language changed to it only being specific to students. It says students right at the top of the thing, and it's crossed out to everyone else. So it's changed specifically to students.
If you look at our policy 118,
I didn't look at old policy. I read what was in our packet.
Okay. The language we adopted from ISBA was adopted already earlier last year, and it was specific to everybody. But when we go back to ISB language, it is actually only in the student section, and in the personnel section, they have different language. So all I've done is moved it from the Board of Trustees section to the student section, and then we've adopted a personnel policy.
So they still exist. They're still there. They're just, the
So where's
numbering
the
is different.
personnel policy?
It's in the personnel policy.
5120.
Yes.
5120.
So, and then there's some additional red language in 3085P as well. Has to do with hearings. Any other questions that we can answer?
I still have some concerns on that though, because the discrimination policy now for 3085 is a lot more detailed into sexual misconduct and sexual harassment. And a lot of that language now is not in the personnel discrimination. So I guess my question is why? Why would that language be removed for personnel?
Well, we're taking the recommendation from ISBA. That's part of the explanation. We think it's better suited in the areas that in the 3,000, the 5,000. So
Right.
that's the reason for the change. But you're asking
That I
why
get.
the
I'm
change,
just like,
right.
why does the student section go into so much detail defining sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, and so forth? And the personnel section is now only just a couple small paragraphs about it. I don't understand that. I get that it's the recommendation of the ISBA. I guess I need to ask the ISBA.
Well, we can ask, we can follow.
I read what's in the student, which I agree with. I just don't know why we wouldn't hold our personnel to the same degree that we're holding our students.
Do we want to leave 5240 off the first reading tonight? And
5120.
Is it 5120? Okay. Do we want to leave that one off tonight?
We
for
can
further-
pull it and bring it back and ask those questions, and if you want to create more robust language, then we can do that. Clearly, we were just following, yeah.
To me,
I see what
to
you're
me,
saying.
we're holding our students to here and our personnel to here.
Makes
And I'm
sense.
like, why?
Yeah, makes sense.
Can I speak for 1
Sure,
second?
please.
Yes. So the personnel policy 5240, at the very bottom of the policy, it does reference policy 3085 and the procedures 3085. So they reference the student policy because it does have more language and is more detailed.
Okay, but I got a problem with that because the from a legal perspective, sorry, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but it says very clear that this is for students. And so to say, well, reference this policy, it should say specifically, all of these things also apply to personnel. And if all of these things apply to personnel, we're going to separate personnel from students, then it should just be written in with the personnel. So there's never any argument or issue of, well, that says it's specific to students, therefore it doesn't apply to me.
If I can help, what's really driving this is they've recommended some changes to Title IX that will put this all under one rubric. And so the lawyers are telling the schools and at the state level to make these changes because we're preparing to dovetail with what's coming. Now they don't know when that's going to finally be adopted, but they're expecting within the next few months. So that's what I saw driving some of this, at least at the similarities.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our Title IX policy, Always My Health, is already in our policy manual, and it's very robust. It's a whole process. It addresses students as well as staff. It's very strong. It's already been done. So we started.
But isn't this replacing, aren't we redoing policy?
But not the Title IX, it's just these however many that were under Board of Trustees.
But it's funny because I didn't catch this before. I actually did read all these.
We can pull this.
But this is just interesting because it says, 3085 is specific to students, but then you read scope of policy and it says the policy applies to all members of Idaho Falls School District's community, including students, employees, and other members of the public, including guests, visitors, volunteers, and invitees.
Do we need a motion to pull a particular one or what?
I
You just don't include it, and we'll bring it back. We'll do some study.
But to me, I'm fine with that, but to me, that even further confuses this policy and just, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know when there's confusion in policy, it
It's
makes
open
it
to
a headache for legal, and now you're
It's open to
relying on a
interpretation.
judge to decide who is a better arguer.
So maybe 3085 and 5240, you want to leave off?
And the sections, the
Is it that
personnel
scope?
and student sections are still quite robust. This is just what you moved into those.
Because it was
sections.
currently in the Board of
51,
Trustees,
51,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's just
it
moving.
doesn't fit where it was. That's the only reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure about 5120.
And these are just being moved into those sections, so the student and personnel sections will still be quite robust with many other subsets. It's just where they got moved.
Well, then I guess I
out
would
of-
have to say, send me all the subsets, because I can't approve this as it reads today,
So
just assuming that there's gonna be additional stuff down the road.
do we want to wait for the entire book then? I mean, because that would be
No, because my
everything.
only issue with this particular one, until we get into the next group, well, that one's already took care of itself.
Because there's 10
Is
sections.
that we're holding,
I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's gonna
why
take
we
us
have all this
at least
red.
2
I
years
think
to
it's
get
just the
through.
normal equal opportunity statement in 5120, just
That's
kind
what
of
I
a
was trying to figure
standard.
out, but then why is it crossed out? That's what I was confused about.
We started in August with this section. So with this work, we work at your behest, so.
Yeah. So I have a question, I'm sorry, is the wording changed in 5120? Because it's crossed out, and it's not just the renumbering, the whole thing's crossed out, and then I think it's the same, but
No,
No.
it's different language.
different language, okay.
I mean, like, that's a pretty standard to me, equal opportunity
Yeah, I'm just.
disclosure.
I'm trying to figure out what's different.
May just be that some of that other stuff is getting
Okay,
moved.
yeah, I think I see what's.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll leave off 3085, 3085P, and 5240 for further clarification, making sure they tie in to the grand
and,
scheme.
5122, right?
50,
Um,
yeah. I don't think
No,
there's,
I-
5120 is just equal opportunity
And
employment.
it's pretty
Oh, yeah,
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I confused it, yeah.
So, okay.
You said, which two did you say again?
3085, 3085P, and 5240.
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
I would love to do this. I make a motion to approve the first reading of board policies 1000 legal status and operation, 1010 organization and classification, 1015 geographical description of school district 91, 1017 trustee zones, 1100 membership, 1110 elections, 1110P candidate edification, 1120 taking office, 1120P oath of office, 1130 resignation, 1140 vacancies, 1200 annual organization meeting, 1205 school board powers and duties, 1210 qualifications, terms and duties of board officers, 1220 clerk, 1230 duties of treasurer, 1240 duties of individual trustees, 1250 committees, 1260 authorization of signatures and electronic signatures, 1300 district policy, 1303 policies and procedures to review annually, 1310 administrative procedures, 1313 conflicting policies and procedures, 1315 district planning, 1320 management rights, 1400 board staff communications, 1405 school board use of email and social media, 1410 board superintendent relationship, 1420 trustee expenses, 1430 trustee insurance, 1440 board participation and activities, 1500 board meetings, 1500P board meeting procedure, 1510 open meeting law compliance and cure, 1525 board meeting news coverage, 1600 code of ethics for school board members, 1610 trustee conflict of interest, 1615 trustee spouse employment, 1620 board goals and objectives, 1630 evaluation of board, 1640 in-service conference for trustees, 1645 board development opportunities, 1650 new board member workshop, 1660 duties of school attorney, 3280, equal education and non-discrimination. 3305, prohibition of tobacco possession and use. 5120, equal employment opportunity and non-discrimination. 5310, tobacco-free policy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions?
I'll just a comment, because I thought it was in this next section for the second and final reading, but it was actually in this section. And it's probably with a similar explanation to what Jess got, but I thought it was interesting that on the tobacco policy, it's broken out again. Where is it? Where there's a tobacco, yeah, student one with the staff one, and they're broken out. And then there's a third one that's then like a tobacco-free policy. And why is there just not one policy that applies to everybody? Why are they separated out between students, employees, and then a tobacco-free policy? I thought it was strange.
Great point.
Maybe so, like students, if they're referring for something in the policy manual, they go to the student section, and the personnel go to the person. It's like their own. Like if you got a job, you get this personnel manual. You're a student, you get this one. And that's the only reason I can think of.
That's might be a good solution. The part that concerns me is say that they do that, and I'm a student or a personnel, probably more likely to be personnel because student one is like illegal. But they read the policy and it says no smoking in a van and the buses and whatnot, but it doesn't say that it's a tobacco-free policy. You got to go to the tobacco-free policy to get that. That's the tobacco-free policy. There's a separate policy for something else that I read. Maybe.
Tobacco-free policies on the personnel. It's just the main difference in both of those in their language is in the student section. It says that the definition is and or possession of lighted or unlighted cigarettes, cigars, pipes, all that stuff.
Okay. So if you were a teacher,
if you're a teacher and you
as long as it's not lit or
right.
Okay. That makes sense though, Hillary, you're probably right.
Yeah, that's student duplication
compared to employee manual. Anyway.
All right.
Nothing else for me.
Thank you. Okay. Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And our second and final readings.
We made the adjustments that were requested, particularly with the form, confidential, that statement's there.
Entertain a motion.
Anyone? I'll make a motion to approve board policies. 4110 public complaints, 4110F public complaints form, 8245 unpaid school meal charges, 8245P unpaid school meal charges procedure.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Great. And then a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Feel out.